Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much for joining me here. Hope you're having a great day. Let's take another look here at Chainlink. Correction, this is Litecoin. I'm going to look at Chainlink next. What we're looking at here is, again, pretty significant pump. Price action consolidated perfectly at the local high and then took off here when Bitcoin kind of jumped past 100,000 again earlier this morning. So this is looking pretty good. Solid chance we're going to see a slight pullback, but we'll double check basically dollar cost average targets, areas of interest for maybe considering a long. Generally speaking, when coins are performing like this, you do not want to short the coin unless you're like, that social media all-star that likes to post about, super high risk trades that you take. And people like me that actually know what trading is all about and realisticness of trading, I'm just rolling my eyes the whole time when I see it. So just, friendly advice, maybe don't do that. If you like doing that, you're probably in the wrong place, because I don't necessarily slam people that do that, but I like to promote best practice. And it's difficult to promote best practice when folks are, trying to long everything to the moon. And it seems like that's pretty much the gist of, the entire market, what people feel is going to happen. Don't get me wrong, I'm very bullish on Bitcoin for the moment. And in turn, coins like this will probably continue to do well. But there's always going to be some kind of pullbacks. There's always going to be some kind of intraday stuff that you got to be mindful of. And, the market isn't just sunshine and rainbows, right? Everyone's right until they're not. So let's take a look here at Litecoin, kind of double check a few key factors. And future reference too, folks, I'm not 100%. I maybe only average 75, 80% success rate. But, my risk is low, and I just take a lot more profit than I take losses, right? And that's just kind of the common theme. Mainly the reason why that's important is because patience is paramount. And if you're not being patient as a trader and you're FOMOing into everything, you're probably seeing a lot less consistency. So welcome aboard. I think you're in the right place. So let's take a look here. Last 7 days liquidation for Litecoin. We can see that some folks are shorting $130, which makes sense. There's not a whole heck of a lot of information here telling us that the price is going to be incentivized to go higher based on liquidation. It's all been swept. We're kind of in price discovery within the local range. So that kind of causes us to, kind of jump around a little bit. Please don't misinterpret. Obviously, we haven't hit our all-time highs, but generally speaking, we're not used to this kind of price point. At least we haven't been for over a month, right? So Litecoin's coming up to its local resistance. We're going to talk about that. But when we look here at liquidation, again, majority of all liquidation at 118 to roughly 122 has been swept. We have liquidation delta, which is super high right now. Commonly, the price will pull back when you see this overextended for some time. This is actually fairly new. All the more reason not to short into this. And the likelihood of further upside or sustainability at this price point is higher because we have a ton of money flowing into this coin. Speaking of money flow, this open interest tells us a lot about where people are hedged the most. We can see people are heavy at 110 and 122. Okay, so those are kind of the heaviest concentrations in the last 5 days here. So that tells us 110 and 122, which are these guys right here. 110, 122 are the areas that people are heaviest the most. Again, probably the breakout trade right here that caused the highest amount of volume. Generally speaking, when there's a really big push like this, it's probably one person buying a lot. So my guess is this is probably some type of whale here, right at about 122, squeezing the heck out of a lot of late shorts. And it's really common to see that happen. Anyways, these are just kind of areas to focus on. We'll pay attention to that. Let's look at the back end data and kind of recognize some important stuff here. Front end rather. I want to look at larger time frames, kind of recognize where we're at. Let's look at the weekly. A lot of times you want to take previous daily candlestick and weekly candlestick closures to kind of see where we're at. So just to clarify from before, we have a high of roughly 113. We're going to put that on the chart to kind of make sure we understand that was a weekly high that we've had difficulty crossing before. So we can kind of see some confluence there at the 110 to 113 range, just something that's important to be mindful of. Then we also want to take a look at this most recent high, really close to that 1.618 fib at about 135. That is a weekly candlestick closure. So again, I just kind of like to look at that really quick to give us perspective. From a macro scenario though, we're hanging out above the 20, every single moving average, and we're over 50 on the R side. The weekly time frame looks pretty solid. Daily time frame, obviously going to reflect a very similar behavior because we have such high volume. Why else wouldn't it show that? But if we do take a look here, we are not fully overextended yet. We're getting closer, but we have some more gas left in the tank. But again, the truth is people are feeling like this is overextended, so to speak, and a lot of times people will not really buy these kind of the top here, or what feels like the top, because we're retesting a local high. Okay, now again, as far as local high is concerned, we're going to also mark this too, and just recognize that this 125 is a previous resistance. We had about 6 or 7 days in a row where we couldn't cross that level. So it's important just to be mindful of that. Keep in mind, folks, I'm going to update our playout chart. I'm going to post on our Twitter, Telegram, Discord if you're not familiar. It looks a little something like this, and it's available for you if you want. My premium results are here as well if you're considering any trade signals. I share my signals with my community, so if you are interested in that, feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Links down below though for that. Okay, so what I want to talk about here on the daily is pretty much the fact that we're over every single moving average, and we're looking really solid. We're kind of reaffirming that support at 110 to 113. You can see that confluence there, the 50-day SMA hanging out there. We got a previous resistance turned, likely a new support. We can see that retest on the 4-hour there. Overall, looking great here. There's nothing bearish about the daily time frame. Most time frames are going to reflect this, but it's really super refreshing to see the daily and the weekly time frame looking bullish. A lot of, unfortunately, coins that are pumping right now, they don't have a very good macro structure. This one does. Having said that, though, we got to recognize that we do have some resistances potential. So 125, we're looking for, excuse me, a closure above 125 today. That could signal further upside. But the local high, 147, roughly 150, we got to recognize that may be a resistance for us if we get back into that range. It's very common for coins to reject out at that level, so just be mindful of that. Taking a look here, of course, once more, I'll update our fib levels here. In fact, I could probably do that right now just to make sure we have some good information for you. And just kind of recognizing kind of the more macro structure here, because when I draw out my fib levels, I like to make sure that we're looking at larger time frames usually. I typically like to wait for the daily candlestick to close before I draw them. We're obviously well within that range, so it's no big deal, but generally speaking, we can see a lot of confluence again at 125. So decent chance this is a pivot point for us. We either see a type of pennant pattern, or maybe even potentially just a retest of that local high and the price continues higher. But 125 appears to be the local potential bottom based on previous resistance, 0.618 fib level, and of course open interest at this 122, reinforcing a lot of support if the price pulls back to that level. Hourly time frame, Ichimoku Cloud, it's going to confirm pretty much everything is fully bullish. Okay, so you don't short into this, folks. I don't care how monstrously overextended it is, or how many insights you have in the fundamental market. From a technical standpoint, this is not something you touch as far as trying to short the coin. Okay, doesn't make a ton of sense, especially with Bitcoin hovering right at the $100,000 mark. It's printing kind of a bullish rectangle. It's consolidating nicely at that 97 to 100K range, and if that continues to hold, altcoins like Litecoin are going to continue to shoot higher, right? So we don't, you don't want to try to just foolishly short into this. And then again, the price, by the time you watch this, the price could even be lower, and you're probably going to roll your eyes and be like, oh, he said it's going to go up and it's going down. Folks, it's natural for coins to pull back. If 125 doesn't hold, secondary support is at 113, that macro open interest area, as well as 117 for the local low here. Okay. So again, a lot of times when you take trades, you don't go all in right here. You take a small position, maybe a secondary position, and a tertiary position. Right. That's how I average my prices in. If you take a look at our premium group here, we effectively, here actually I got to jump to the most recent information. We took profits on SEI, almost 20%, 33% for Dogecoin, and roughly 31% for Bitcoin. That's in the last 24 hours, just some longs we've been taking here recently. But we're not getting super heavy with longs, even though it's a market you don't want to short into. You want to be careful FOMOing into, right? And I've missed tons of opportunity, by the way. A lot of coins that didn't pull back, missed some entries. That's just how it goes. Okay, so get you kind of used to that, but at this point here, Litecoin makes a lot more sense for it to go up than down in the overall sense, and I think that we should expect this 135 to 145 range to be retested. So as per usual, I'll post a playout chart in our Twitter, Telegram, and Discord. Don't forget to hit the like button, comment below if you get a chance. Really appreciate that. And obviously join us over at Bitunix too, folks. Awesome rewards if you use my link to register. Not just this month, but every single month they have new trading competitions and new opportunities. And all you got to do is use my link to register, and you're automatically eligible for those. So congrats to anyone who is qualifying for that nice little futures bonus. Hope you all have a good rest of your day. We'll see you next one. Take care.